Great guest today. I'm going to tell you why I think Wisconsin can beat BYU and where this matchup works well for them. We're going to see what Nick Osen has to say. Locked on Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, sometimes many times a day when we get busy. I'm Rose Ryan Harris, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Today we are talking March Madness, the BYU matchup, a little bit of football recruiting. We got the great Nick Osen from 247 joining the show. As always, grateful for the time. He's on location, on site, doing a ton of coverage for this Badgers basketball team. So I highly recommend go check out his work on 247. Follow him on Twitter. Nick, I just want to talk about Montana. But I just want to jump into BYU because I am so excited about this game, this matchup. I think so. Here's where I think I like the matchup for Wisconsin, and then I want you to get your take on it. BYU doesn't have the type of defensive athletes that we saw with JMU last year that we see with teams that really give Wisconsin issues. Like, I think this is the type of matchup that our guards offensively can exploit. That's what gives me confidence going into this. What are you seeing with this Wisconsin BYU matchup?
Yeah, Ryan, like we were just talking about kind of before we hopped on the show, this is really exciting. And it's not just Wisconsin oriented, but just in general, like this has the potential to be one of the 5 to 10 best games of the entire tournament. Now, we'll start with positives. What I like for Wisconsin, I tend to agree. I think that they're going to be able to score. I mean, the Badgers have been able to score against just about anybody. This will be one of those games. And if they're not, then they're probably just not shooting well because BYU – they fight, like they work on both ends, but like you said, maybe just not the personnel at times, and they're just a lot more offensive focused system under Kevin Young, which is totally fine. I also, though I will speak highly of his really defensive and rebounding abilities, Kiba Kita, they don't kind of play through the post that often in terms of scoring. So ideally, Crowell and Winter will have a lot of energy. I even think of Gilmore and Amos, what they've shown, to be able to make that impact on Wisconsin's offensive end. Like, I promise, Ryan, it's interesting. It's kind of a random team. BYU, I've probably watched them more than any team in the country that's not in the Big Ten, truly, just because fun team to watch, late night games, and I got to see some. So I feel pretty good about the scout. And I think 1 through 9, 1 through 10, I just lean Wisconsin. Both teams are deep. You have to respect the depth, but especially what we have seen from like Janicki, for example, at Purdue and Minnesota, or Amos, somebody we've both been kind of ready to really explode, has shown what he can do the last couple of weeks. So those are a couple reasons I'm fairly optimistic for Wisconsin going in.
All right, let's talk what worries you a little bit. Either with the Badgers, anything potentially you saw against Montana, or with something specifically that BYU can do.
Yeah, so I don't think I saw anything really that worried me against Montana, because I felt like the first issue that I kind of saw was the Grizzlies were able to drive the lane too easily. I think that got cleaned up a little bit in the second half. So I feel optimistic there. But look, there's a reason that the spread is so small for this game. I'd say the two things that worry me the most, Ryan, are probably the NBA upside of guys on BYU. I mean, I think Wisconsin goes into this game with the best player, without a doubt, and 2 of the 3 top college players. But NBA upside, I believe Richie Saunders is an NBA player. He is one of the 15 best players I've seen, regardless of team this year. I think he's underrated. And then obviously Igor Demon, the freshman who's projected to be first round. Now, he can turn it over a lot. You watch the Iowa State games, like they really got into him. But the talent is oozing, playmaking ability. So Wisconsin has to stay sharp on their rotations. Fortunately, that's something that guard has really hit on. And then the second thing that worries me, man, like you said, I'm out here on location. I love Badgers fans. They mean everything to me. They help me do this type of thing. But for Wisconsin's sake, I'm hopeful that more Badgers fans can get out here, because BYU and Montana had the largest crowds Thursday. That's not a shock, obviously, in terms of location. People have to work. But Saturday night game, man, hopefully there's more Badger Red, because at times that BYU VCU game felt almost like a home game for the Cougs.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And Richie Saunders is super interesting as well. You brought him up. He's the first guy, leading scorer for BYU. He kind of reminds me of the Woody Harrelson's character from White Men Can't Jump. Like, he doesn't really look like but he's so good. He's so unorthodox. He's such a good shooter, and he just rips the heart out of people. Like, he's a really good player. I want to hit on Amos a little bit. I know you talked to him in the locker room post game. I thought we're coming up. I think almost inarguably, we're coming off the best stretch of Xavier Amos ball going back to the Big Ten tournament. The minutes he played against Montana. Here's the question, because I don't think that's an argument. I think the question is, I posed this to Coach Guthrie, who's how does Amos get more minutes? Because those minutes have to come at the expense of Winter or Crowell.
Right now, I think Coach Gard is riding the hot hand. I felt like there were times that you saw Gilmore and Amos out there together. Not often, but just a spot here or there, just because of the positional versatility that both can bring. Because Gilmore can guard the 5, obviously, too. Amos can play small ball 5 if needed. Obviously, you like him better as like a 3 stretch 4. But in terms of more minutes, man, I think it is really just, it's one and done time at this point. So it's basically just who is playing the best basketball or who kind of fits the matchups most. And I think, I've been fortunate to speak with X a few times recently, like you mentioned. I've really been impressed because he was one of the stars at NIU. And he comes in here and he's really had to earn his spot in the rotation. And I think he's done that. I mean, I'm watching Max Klesmit or Kamari McGee or Gilmore, like when X is finding success, and they're really excited for him because I think they know what type of work that he's put in. So I would say it's tough to find more for him or Gilmore, just at any type of spot. But one of the biggest takeaways I had yesterday is what a kind of embarrassment of riches at the 4 that Gard has at his disposal right now. You've got Winter, who I think we both believe is a future pro. Mm-hmm. Gilmore, who I've just truly loved watching his actual game. I mean, I know it's a fun story. He's a Wisconsin guy, but like what he brings on the court, I think is really, really beneficial. And then Amos, who I was really high on coming into the year, and I think there's a reason for that. The talent is there. He made some huge defensive plays. So, Ryan, I personally feel like that position could be the driving force to a Sweet 16, to an Elite 8 going forward.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And what Amos gives you coming off the bench is something different. That there's so much value in having something different off the bench. He's so different than a Crowell or a Gilmore with his length and his bounciness. And Crowell and Gilmore are different than him with a little bit more of their toughness and strength. It gives you a unique weapon defensively that you can employ when the other team maybe goes small or they have a rangy 4, and he's bought into it. You got to give him a ton of credit, to your point, because he came in to start. Like I don't think that's a surprise. He thought that was the discussion, and I think he's handled it really, really, really well, which is also a testament to Gard and the culture that they built here. Mm-hmm. I want to shift it to, I don't know if this is a concern, but Klesmit, again, this team is better with Klesmit. His ball handling, his playmaking, he had 4 assists against Montana, but he also didn't score. Is there still some concern about maybe something lingering there with Max?
Do I think he's 1,000 trillion% the best like he's ever felt? Like I could see maybe like a touch lingering, not formally reporting or anything, just that wouldn't shock me. But honestly, Ryan, I felt like if you didn't tell me that he didn't score, obviously you'd know like, okay, where were some more baskets? But I felt overall he was solid, especially after the start. I think that he got maybe driven by once or just maybe a late rotation or so against the Grizzlies. But after that, like you mentioned, 4 assists, I thought shot selection was pretty good. I think there was like a 3 I maybe would have taken back if possible. But, overall, like he knows the role, yet he knows if he really needs to, he can get a bucket. And maybe we're going to bring this up, but just because they kind of go hand in hand and I'm always seeing the guards hanging out together, I want to note John Blackwell. There are so many stories right now, not even just being written by the media, but just in general about this team. I almost feel like, Ryan, at times he's getting underrated. I mean, he would have been the reason that Wisconsin won against Michigan last week. And they certainly don't win against Montana without him, just because anytime the team needs a bucket, Tanja's the best player, but I think Blackwell's the guy that goes and gets it. Whether it's a drive, left-handed layup, or just taking it and getting fouled. I can see your smile. Maybe you're in agreement as well, but that's something I've really felt strongly about now. And I don't know if it's because he wasn't all Big Ten team or just because there are so many other fun stories, and he's just kind of a lockdown, do your business type of guy. But he's funny off the court, A, so there are stories there, and B, he's a star. And I'm not sure what his pro future looks like, whether that's 3 years, 4 years, NBA, G League, but I believe he can be a pro. And man, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's first team all conference next year.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. I think Blackwell, and I've said this on a previous show going back, maybe the beginning of the Big Ten tournament, maybe the end of the regular season has had FU energy. I can't say what I actually want to say, but it feels like he's had some FU energy. I'm going to get in the paint. I'm going to make it happen. And I think occasionally there's still some shot selection stuff, but overall he's been great. He's been an emotional driver of this team. He fills up the stat sheet. You look last game, I don't have the box score in front of me, but it was leading score, but also rebounds, assists, steals. He's been filling up
defense
the
too, man. He made things tough on their scoring guards.
Yep. And he carries a big load, which is hard sometimes to expect a guard who carries that load offensively to also be a great defender. Individually, he definitely has that potential. No, I love the way he's played offensively. When he's put his head down and said, I'm going to get to the rim, there have not been many teams that have said, no, I'm going to stop you. Like, he's been great in that sense. All right, we have to take a quick second for our friends of the show. We're going to come back, shorter show today because Nick has got a bunch going on, but we are still going. We're going to talk X factors in this game, last thoughts on BYU, and then a little bit of football recruiting with the great Nick Osen over at 247. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Nissan. Listen, I love Nissan. We've been very fortunate to partner with them. And Nissan right now is all about the stats because, listen, you know this, I know this. We're talking hoops. Numbers don't lie. When it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level with the ability to up to 8,500 pounds, or basically the amount of weight Travis Frederick can lift. It can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear wherever you need to go. It's powered by the twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories, whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena to hang out with Nick. The Armada Pro 4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you need to go. Take the adventures to all new heights with the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Today's episode also brought to you by our incredible friends over at 5 Hour Energy. And listen, sometimes daylight savings sneaks up on us all. You lose that hour, you're trying to fight to get that hour of sleep back. 5 hours got your back. The extra sunshine, listen, means more time for fun, more time for outdoor activities. It also means you might need a little bit of boost to get you through. 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing, pick you up wherever you need it. And that's a simple thing. It's simple, it's easy, it's refreshing. Just grab it and go, whether I'm traveling to a game, hiking, going on a road trip. 5 Hour Energy is easy to grab, keeps me feeling refreshed, and helps me keep going the next day. Head over to 5hourenergy.com, find 15 flavors to choose from. Watermelon, which is my favorite. Blue raspberry, peach, mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized over at 5hourenergy.com. All right, let's jump back into this. Nick, man, as always, where can people find the great work that you're doing and your team is doing?
Ryan, thank you so much. Badger 247. And you know, I never really note this, man, but obviously busy times, you know, never would trade this for the world. We've been balancing a lot though. And I've really encouraged, you know, I'm not like a salesman type, you know this. A lot of the listeners have been, you know, grateful we've gotten to meet and things. I wouldn't pitch something if I didn't feel strongly about it. There's a 75% off annual promo right now. Best sale of the year. Like, it's truly our best. I think it's like 30-ish or so for a full year. If you guys wanted to check it out, haven't taken a day off in 2.5 years. So it'd be worth it.
Absolutely love it. And Nick is great. I couldn't recommend it enough. Let's go X factors. Let's take the Tanjays and the Richie Saunders and the Denons, all this out of there. What's the X factor on the Badgers that determines this game?
I'd love to give you two, if possible, my man, one on each team. I think for Wisconsin, it is Kamari McGee. And it feels like a couple shows when you've asked me that, I've said it. Now, we talked about how good BYU's guards are. Cam needs to be at his best. He needs to be at his best defensively. And I also believe he brings something off the bench that many teams don't have. Now, we'll see how BYU starts because they do have a couple good options at point guard. You know, depending on who starts. I know Hall has been starting at times. Sometimes he just plays a bunch with the second unit. So that will be intriguing to me. For BYU, it's Kiba Keita. If he can really make an impact on the boards and defensively, it could be tough for Wisconsin. And we know this is going to be a tough game as it is with respect to both teams. Two teams I believe you could argue are underseeded. I believe Wisconsin's a top 9 to 12 team, so pretty close, but maybe could have been a 2 if they took care of a little bit more business late. BYU to me is a top 16 to 20 team. So really, really going to be intriguing, Ryan.
Yeah, I like really good one on Kamari because they're going to have to guard on the perimeter, and he's really their quickest perimeter defender coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Janicki. Like, I think you just need when he comes off and plays well, and he's hitting a couple shots, and he's engaged defensively. He makes those Carter Gilmore-ish type glue plays that just create points in other spots. And I don't think he's been at his best the last couple games, which hurts the Badgers' depth a little bit. And I love Jack. I think he's going to be a big player going forward for the Badgers. But getting something from him off the bench, because I feel pretty good we're going to get something from Kamari. I feel pretty good we're going to get something from Carter. And based on latest trends, I feel pretty good we're going to get something from Amos. I think Janicki's kind of the wild card off the bench. What can he give you in those 5 to 10 minutes that can help really in a close game? Those 5 to 10 minutes can help swing it. So that's going to be my X factor here is Jack.
I love that. This is a guard game. I'm sure you agree. So whether Janicki shoots 4 for 6 or 1 for 5, if he is able to make things difficult and make those guards work, that's a success, man. I love that pick, Ryan. I'm legitimately excited for this game, man.
Let's finish up here, man, because I know you got a bunch going on, but let's touch on football recruiting. A bunch of guys have been cycling in and out. Big names. The staff is working and they're grinding. What do you got that you want to talk about for football recruiting as we kind of wrap this up?
Yeah, so there have been some huge names in town, like you mentioned, Ryan. I should be able to catch up with this player a little bit more soon, but Jax Tanner, basically the highest 3-star possible, like essentially a 4-star, highly coveted. Powerhouses want him all over. I wouldn't be shocked if Wisconsin gets an OB. I talked with him last week. He was very excited to make this trip. And a couple guys I was able to speak with. We'll start with a younger quarterback in the state, J.J. Chapman. I still got to get that story rolling, but just a really impressive, mature kid. I met him at Badgers camp last year. We'll see how he progresses. He already has 1 or 2 D1 offers, and he's still got a ton of time left in high school. I think that'd be like 3 years left. But sounds like he was really impressed with the way Kenny Guyton has been working with the quarterbacks and just loved being on campus. And then a couple key targets in 2026. I know one we've talked about a bunch. Linebacker Mason Martin out of Missouri. Now, if Wisconsin wasn't leading going into this past visit, they might be now. Like he told me, they're basically checking off all the boxes. I think that the Badgers have done a terrific job. I put Wisconsin, KU, and maybe another like Big 12 like school in the mix, but Badgers have done well there. And then Zach Washington, a name that you and I have talked about. We've talked about with Justin and Rajiv. I know that a lot of us really like him. Sounds like he will probably take some more visits, which is what I've expected. I mean, he's had a long line of visits set, but another good trip to Madison. Like he's been there at least 4 times, just off of memory, including game day visits. And it was really paramount for him to see the offense at hand. That's a cool thing about spring. You might not get as much one-on-one time. The nice thing about Wisconsin's impressive staff and recruiting department is they really try to make sure you do at some point. But you get to see the team in action, which not every place does. Not every time you go, you can get that opportunity. So I think spring visits are really important, Ryan. And obviously, OVs will end up telling the story for a couple of those guys.
Yeah, they could really use Washington and his athleticism on the edge. That's a big target for them. Like, the thing with Jax Tanner, like I love his film, and I sometimes feel like interior offensive linemen, guys that are 6'3", 6'4", they almost get knocked a little bit in the recruiting rankings. And that's a broad brushstroke. I'm not knocking 247 or anyone else, but it feels like tackles almost get a little bit of a decimal bump, right? Just because of the notion that they're more valuable. Tanner is phenomenal as interior offensive lineman prospect. I love him. So when you say high 3-star.
Yeah, honestly, man, I think that's probably a good point because I think about who would that be? Bear McWhorter, too. Obviously, cousin of QB target Brody McWhorter. And, I mean, I think 247 has him too low, to be honest. The teams that were all over him, Wisconsin, Georgia, Bama, Michigan, like that's not a mid 3-star kid generally. So I agree. Just wanted to give a few updates because I know that's often what we focus on. But it's been fun, man. It's been a lot of fun. Obviously, hopefully this March run continues, but we'll keep the football recruiting going, especially on non-game days as well.
Love it. He is Nick Osen, 247. As always, go give him a follow. Check him out. Nick, thank you so much for the time, my friend. Always enjoy our talks on and off the air. So have a great time in Denver. Let's get that dub. Let's get to the Sweet 16.
It truly always brings me great energy, brother. I appreciate you. Appreciate your fan base and listeners, too. You guys are awesome.
on Wisconsin, and we will talk later.